Folks, welcome back to RGR. It's another episode, and I have a new guest for you, somebody you might start seeing a little bit more often, and you might have caught him if you're paying any attention. I know this is the end of Modern Family, but there was an episode a little while back where you saw Danilo de Julio, if I said it right.
De Julio, but yes.
Dang it. I was so close. I got the first part right. Dang.
That's right. You're famous for being off with names, so I'm honored to be
I'm
part
terrible.
of
I'm absolutely terrible.
Tapestry of mispronounced names.
The only thing I could do worse is try to spell it, dude. That's it. But folks, he's coming on the show. We're going to do something a little bit different because Dan comes from a different part of it. You've seen him in the chats on the live Q&As. Thunder Dan, you've talked to him. But we're going to talk about one of his draft sweethearts today, as well as a bunch of philosophy about the draft, and try to bring you a different perspective as we expand everything that we're doing on the channel. So welcome, Dan. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Ryan. It's a pleasure to be on board today. I'm excited about contributing a bit in the next coming season.
Nice.
Hopefully it can come back and do more and more stuff. But today I want to I played semi-pro ball for over a decade, and I was primarily an offensive player, but I played a lot of positions. But I love offense. I love me some points. And I knew anybody in ChiefsKingdom right now has got to be in love with offense because that's how we're rolling these days.
Right.
Our defense played great down the stretch, but I'm all about keeping that trainer rolling on the offensive side. And I've done a lot of these mock drafts on FanSpeak and on the Draft Network and such. And I don't think there's going to be – a lot of them are predicting like no running backs going in the first round or one running back. That's not going to happen. There's going to be a couple, I think, go in the first round. In real life, just because teams always do. Somebody doesn't have a running back, they see those guys and go, oh, if I don't get him now, somebody's going to get my guy.
Well, wasn't there a stretch of 4 or 5 years where no running backs were taken in the first?
Well, they're trying to say that they're not worth anything, but I mean, I watched the Super Bowl this year where my team crushed it, and part of that crushing it was number 26, rolling and playing great. And looking back on the season, how different a team the Kansas City Chiefs were when he wasn't healthy.
Yeah.
When he wasn't there, and then earlier in the season, I think we discussed this on Chiefs Wire there. I don't think he or Kelsey were right at the beginning of the year. I think they were a little nicked up. It just seemed like they didn't have that quickness of foot like they normally have. They're a little bit off. And when he came back the second time, after he got knocked out for a little while, when Williams came back, he was back to being D. Will from the Colts playoff game the year before. And that was it. He just tore it up. What's he got? 11 touchdowns now in his playoff history, tied with Terrell Davis.
Favorite thing about him, he's a gamer, man. You hit the postseason, and he's on fire.
He's got that 4.4 and change speed, and that little burst. And you and I have had like a little back and forth privately about the Chiefs not going running back under any circumstances.
No, not any. Just not till day three. Day three.
Okay, day three. Okay. So here's the thing. In my, stupid amateur false fake mock drafting that I've done low these many days, I've tried to skew it now recently towards 5 picks is not enough.
Yeah.
And a big part of the reason is I did a little spreadsheet up, and I came and found an interesting factoid out about our lovely Chiefs. And that is, I think it's something in the neighborhood of 39-ish players are unrestricted free agents next year. We're losing a lot of players or having to re-sign a lot of players next season.
Yep.
One of those positions that people said we probably won't go in the draft, at the top of the draft, is running back. And I just, over last season, it really hit home to me how important it was to have that guy. You can do committee. You can have multiple guys that can bring different things to the table or can spell each other. But you need that one workhorse guy that has the burst, that can catch the ball to the backfield, that can do some pass pro or do really well in pass pro. And when Williams was right, Damian Williams was right, we were a much better team. We have currently, well, I have to amend this. Up until today, we had 6 running backs on the roster. 6. We had Darrell Williams, Damian Williams, Elijah McGuire, Marcus Marshall, Mike Weber, and Darwin Thompson.
And
today we added DeAndre Washington. And all of us Chief fans will know who that is because we hate that silver and black. And he's been running around for them, being a little pain in the butt for the last few years. He's like the size of Priest Holmes, but he runs a 4.49.
Yeah.
And I don't know if anybody knows this, but I never saw Priest lacking for speed on the field, and yet at the combine he tested at 4.73.
Right.
So he's Priest Holmes with a rocket up his butt, is what he is, basically. To steal technical terminology from Chris Sims, he's got a rocket up his butt. So I'm just looking at guys like that and thinking, okay, why would you bring in a DeAndre Washington? Well, what I've been saying all along is if the top corners are gone and the top maybe three linebackers are gone, the value for the next tier kind of drops down a bit, where it's like mid-second round-ish kind of, and maybe lower depending on where you value guys.
Yeah.
Nothing is more valuable than points in an NFL football game. Keeping them off the board and putting them on the board. And the best way to do that is have a guy in rotation that can spell your lead back, that can learn from your lead back, that can take over for your lead back. Out of those 6, now 7 running backs on our roster, the only one that isn't a free agent at the end of the season is Darwin Thompson.
Yep. And that's a good point. What do you think of Darwin? Like, he was supposed to be the second coming last year. And
yes, I like Darwin. I think he's a nice player. I think he's got a decent set of tools. He's not the fastest guy in the stable. Mm-hmm. He's not a big guy. He's thick for his size, but he's not a big guy. He's not the kind of guy that's going to bowl anybody over. He's not thick like Maurice Jones-Drew thick. And I think he's like a smaller, lower body wise than Sproles possibly. I haven't seen them beside each other. I don't know, but he doesn't have that overwhelming power. He did grind through some nice runs, short yardage that we needed in spots. I think he's still catching up to the game. I think the game was a little big for him last year. One case in point was the Houston game. The ball gets popped out and flies right into his hands, and he kind of looks around like, oh, wow, I have the football, instead of sprinting full on to the end. And I watched it a couple times after, and I was like, well, maybe he was looking at that one guy. There's one guy that he maybe was kind of holding up for that guy. The guy behind him from the Texans just hauled butt after him and didn't let him get there.
Yeah.
Would another guy have gotten there? I don't know, but it just looked like he kind of got surprised a little bit. I didn't know what to do. I don't know. He doesn't wow me. He doesn't wow me. He can't do the things Damian Williams can do. He doesn't have that kind of speed. I don't know the exact kind of receiver. His instincts as a receiver, I can't remember if it was the Titans game or the Texans game. I got to watch them again just because it's fun. But there was one play where he was doing a wheel or a quick speed out, and the blitz was on. Clearly, immediately, you see the blitz is on. And all of the receivers for the Steelers way back in the Dallas Cowboy, Pittsburgh Steeler, Neil O'Donnell versus I'm going to make that DB nobody ever heard of an MVP. He's going to make $1 jillion from the Raiders, and we're never going to hear. Larry Brown, was it? Same thing as what happened in that game. When you come off the line, having played a lot of receiver positions, when you come off the line, if the linebacker runs past your face, your route is over.
Turn around.
You're not running around anymore. You're looking at the quarterback. Give him some hands. And he didn't do that in one of those playoff games, and Patrick drilled the ball right off the back of his head.
Right.
Like he should have had that and been going, and instead it could have been an interception. It could have been really bad.
I think the next podcast has to be called The Hot Route.
The Hot Route, right? Well, I just look at him. I think he's a nice guy, and I think he could be like our slower Dave Meggett, kind of a little thicker, a little slower Dave Meggett. He can add some things. He can do a few things. He can't be a workhorse back. He can't be the workload guy that's going to carry us over the top. I don't think at this point I haven't seen that. I think we need another guy. And I from experience watching the draft and watching the way we set our team up, Veach seems to like those guys that are 5'10" to 5'11", 5'9.5" to 5'11.5", 210 to 220. He likes that kind of range. Can catch the ball and fast. He likes fast. So we got DeAndre Washington, a little under 5'10", 208 or 209, speed burner. And he's a rocked up little dude. He's not small, but he's not huge either.
But he and Darwin are both on the smaller side.
What's that?
But he and Darwin are both on the smaller side.
Yeah, I'd say DeAndre is somewhere between Darwin and Williams size wise, but Washington's faster than Thompson for sure. Elijah McGuire, I think we kind of know who that guy is. I don't know that he's going to come and do anything. If they would have saw it last year, he would have been dressing for the Super Bowl. You know what I mean?
Right.
We were getting so nicked up. Darrell Williams, I love Darrell. I know you like Darrell a lot. I like Darrell. He's got some neat skills. In that Baltimore game, he showed he's more than just a one-trick pony. Yeah. When he helped salt the game away, which was nice. So nice.
Yeah.
I don't know what Mike Weber is going to be as a pro. I really don't. But I know that all these guys, except for Darwin, are on one-year deals. Darrell's coming off of an injury.
Yep.
I think Darrell gets re-signed at the end of the year for a bargain and develops even more this year. I think Damian, I think we're going to do it again. I think we're going back. I think we're winning it again. And I think Damian's going to have an even better year than last year. He's going to go make a ton of money somewhere else. Yep. He's not making 7, 8, 10 million a year in Kansas City. Sorry, Dame Dash. We just don't pay running backs that much money. Now, we might pay a running back $3.5 million a year if he's one of the top 3 running backs in the draft and has proven it over and over and over again that look at this guy in their biggest games. The top 3 right now that I see, like prestige-wise and stats-wise and numbers-wise, in no certain order, I know you like DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift, I mean, he's hard not to like. The guy scoots. The guy's got some really nice cuts. Jonathan Taylor, monster, bruiser. I watched more tape. Here's the thing. I did some studying of his stats. I don't like the number of fumbles he's had.
Nor should you.
He's had a ton of carries. So it's like percentages-wise, it's a skew, I think. Sure. And then I watched the video again today of his highlight reel. I mean, it's like 11 and a half minutes of touchdown runs. The guy's in the end zone all the time. Yeah. And then the other one in the middle is J.K. Dobbins. Again, over 2,000 yards, 21 rushing touchdowns. Like, those are the top 3 cats. And I'm of the mind that if there's not one of the top, there's about 5 or 6 corners that I like, 4 or 5 that I like, 4 that I like a lot. If they're not there and the top couple linebackers aren't there and the top couple linemen aren't there, because we need some linemen too. We're getting, the tackles are there for a couple more years, but the guys in the interior and Duvernay Tardif is there till 23. But we've got one center on the roster. We've got Austin Reeder. I mean, Alec Grady was a center in college, but they got him at guard. So whatever that tells us. I just think that if one of those primo running backs is there, now I'm of the mind, let's move around. I want to see Brett Veach move around a bit because I've experimented on these drafts where you can actually trade. And FanSpeak, I generally get offered trades because I think what could happen, it'd be really interesting. We get down to the last pick of the draft in the first round, and one of those quarterbacks is still there. There's going to be somebody clamoring. There could be a lot of phone calls happening, people trying to jump up into the last pick of the first round to get that 5th-year option on that quarterback.
Absolutely.
You get him at the bottom of the first round, so you get the lowest possible rate in the first round, and you get that extra year option. You get them locked in, which conversely are equally important. Laterally is why I like the idea of getting one of those primo running backs in the first round, because people are talking about wear and tear. If we get a Jonathan Taylor, I don't want him to be our running back. Or if we get J.K., I mean, we saw what DeAndre Swift did in much fewer reps. He didn't have as many carries as the other guys. And Taylor had the most out of all of them. He was just a bell cow. But I'm wondering, I like what DeAndre did a lot, but I'm wondering, what if you give a 4.39 guy like Taylor, hey, you're going to be the primary back? You're not going to carry the ball more than 180, 190 times a season. So he doesn't have to do all that. He gets to rest a lot more. He gets to focus on ball protection, ball security, because when he scoots, it's a different thing. Like, I like JK a lot. He's got really shifty moves, and he can scoot away from most guys. If Taylor gets a crease, man, it's over. Like, he gets past the first level, and it's like Christian McCaffrey. It's like, bye.
His explosion is good. But I agree with you. Like, you got to limit his reps. So let's boil it down.
Well, I mean, any running back we have,
you're saying take somebody
reps,
at 32 instead of trading back, or you're open to both?
I'm open to both. I honestly think if you trade back into the top 5 of the first round, we could still get one of those guys, and you get, what is it, a 4-year guarantee? Because if people worry about wear and tear, I mean, you know what? Come to Kansas City. We're going to roll you till the wheels fall off. No, not really, because we don't run the ball that much.
Yeah.
We run the ball like 38% of the time. You know, you got to get good at pass pro, which Dobbins already is. You got to be able to catch the ball, which all three of them have shown an ability to do that. But here's the thing, though. I'm greedy. I'm so greedy. So I'm not saying get that guy at the top, don't trade. I'm saying move around. If we can drop back 4 or 5 picks and get the guy in the second round, we only get 4 years. But if we get his best 4 years as a runner, and he does great things for us and helps us get towards championships, and when Damian Williams goes off into the sunset, whoever our starting back is that's going to take over is already in the system and is locked in for 4 years. The worst thing that could happen, best thing for a player, worst thing for the team, and I'm sure Brett is all over this because this kid, Brett seemed, I call him a kid because he's the youngest GM to ever win a Super Bowl. How about that, Apple?
There you go.
He's all over the numbers, I'm sure, because his predecessor was laissez-faire with the money. He was like, dollar bills, y'all, just chucking that money out the window. That's why he was in Cleveland now.
Absolutely.
So I think Brett's looking at this going, the worst thing that could happen to us right now is Mike Weber or Marcus Marshall or even DeAndre Washington we just got from the Raiders. One of those guys comes in week 5, Damian, as happens, usually he gets nicked up. Yep. Maybe it's more than just a nick up. Maybe he's gone long term. One of these guys comes in and rolls for, 1,350 yards and a dozen touchdowns, and his contract's up. Here's the barrel. Here's us. No adequate replacement on the roster. All the running backs are leaving except for Darwin Thompson. Now, I think what they're doing is they're getting Washington in there because they don't know how Darrell's health is going to be. They know all these other guys are leaving. They know Thompson isn't as explosive as he could be. They're not going to give up on him anytime soon because they got it for dimes. It's very inexpensive. I think we get it. If, like I said, again, if every mock draft I've done, if one of those top corners is there, I'm taking the corner. We need to get 2 or 3 corners.
Yeah.
The best draft I had, sent to you a couple days ago. Dude, I was getting offers.
Yeah. What'd you get, like 16 all over the place picks out of that draft?
I got, I think, 13 or 14 at least. Yeah. I turned 5 picks into 14 picks or 15 picks. And I could have had more, except in the mid-4th to down rounds, like mid-4th to the top 5th, I had teams trying to trade me down and get me way like 30, 40 picks down. They were offering me 4 or 5 picks, but I'm like, no, that's the meat of this draft from what my experience is so far. Like the mid-4th round, and there's like so many just diamonds in the rough just waiting there to be snapped up. I think we have to, because we have 39 guys coming off the roster this year, by 2023, we are down. Right now, we've only got 11 guys under contract beyond 2022.
Right.
So that's nothing. That's one offensive field or one setup. That's it. 11 guys, no subs. And Patrick's not going on kickoff coverage or returns. In the spreadsheet I sent you, of course, contract-wise, I put Chief for life under Patrick Mahomes because I don't know what the numbers are yet or what the years are yet. I'm assuming that's going to be the deal. The contract's going to be as long as you want to be here, buddy.
Right. So
I don't think he's going to Reamless. But the last thing I want to say about the running back side is the best thing I've been able to do in the fantasy draft, and I think that Brett is going to try to do, if he can get that up to 10 picks. I mean, there were so many years the Patriots had like 4 or 5 picks. And end of the weekend, you're like, they got 12 draft picks? How do they do that? And then they're going to get a bunch of UDFAs because he was a master. Bill was a master of getting those additional value picks later on. I got those picks because, and I wouldn't have believed it if somebody else had just sent it to me, but I was in there watching the draft, and there was always somebody that slid. They're like, that guy should have been gone half a round ago. And all of a sudden, I get 2 offers from 2 different teams that are trying to jump up and get that guy. So they're offering more than maybe the value of my pick is, but they're giving me a little more because they want that guy. And then sure enough, I make the trade, the next pick, that guy's gone, which gave me that extra meat on the bone in the middle of the draft. I would like to see us get close to 10 or more picks. If we get a run, if the corners and that are not there, if the best value, because I think we are genuinely a best player available team right now. As long as we do what we have to do, get more corners. You got to flesh out the roster. We couldn't field the team. It'd be rough. Pass rush better get there. We got good pass rushers, but the pass rush better get there because their corners aren't going to be holding up a long time. But I think if we come out with, if the best player available, and it's not even close, is those running backs are head and shoulders above. If that trifecta of Swift, Dobbins, and Taylor are there, I would take one of those guys. If we can move back a few picks and then still get the guy, great. And another back later, like a Michael Warren II, like a guy. Like I watched that guy, and I'm like, who am I looking at? Who do I see here? Okay, there's old Kurt Warner. There's a little Marshall Faulk move there. Okay, there's a little faster Jerome Bettis. What am I looking at here? And then I'm watching the tape, and I'm like, he's pulling away from everybody the same way Taylor is on his tape. Now, maybe the competition's not as good.
Right.
But, I mean, if Priest Holmes ran a 4.73 at the Combine, and we all know what Priest Holmes looked like in a real game, and I'm looking at the tape, okay, this is where the rubber meets the road a little bit, and where I think this draft cycle is going to be really interesting, because they don't have that extra pro day stuff going on. We're not able to see these guys, and I think the guys that really have instincts and really trust their gut and really know what they're looking at and believe what they're looking at, like Avich going to Andy and going, but Patrick, but you just know, I don't care what anybody's, just please, just this guy, because they're not going to get those extra looks. They're going to have to trust their gut. They're going to have to trust what they've seen, and the measurables that they've gotten, they've got them, and that's fine. They're not going to get that additional workout where they get alleviated their doubts and go, okay, I got to see him in person. He's a little faster than he looked at the Combine, so I feel better. But you have to take the Combine with a grain of salt. There's nerves. There's pressure. There's maybe he's tired. Maybe he hasn't slept well for a week because it's a little stressful.
Same things you go the night before a game too.
But they know that. They know football. They know how to play the game. This is underwear Olympics. This is something they're never going to do again. And they're being geared up and actually trained for something different than what they do, which is, I mean, like a Michael Warren. If that kid is even like running a 4.5.5, if he's running that 4.5.5, but he gets up to speed in 2.5 steps instead of 6 or 7 strides, he's running away from most people anyway, and he's running over the first 2. Like, that's the kind of guy down near the goal line. It's kind of nice to have a guy like that. I would like to see him get a running back early, a running back later that's comparable, because, again, he's like another 5'11", 220 guy that can catch the ball. I've seen him catch deep passes. I've seen him catch short stuff. The only wide receiver I'm kind of still leaning on, because, we've signed everybody else back, which is awesome,
right,
for another year. Still love, and they're calling him a running back. He calls himself a wide receiver who can play running back and is a great return man as well. Antonio Gibson, the human joystick, that kid.
And I agree with you. He's a wide receiver. He might be able to take snaps out of the backfield, but he's a wide receiver. Yeah. I mean, he's got a couple of issues, but I mean, I like where you're coming from. I'm thinking of him, honestly, as one of the targets for day 3. And I'm glad you brought him up, because when I look at him, he's not anywhere near a perfect prospect. Long way from it. His routes are pretty rounded. He doesn't break very well at the top of his stem. He runs too upright when he's got the ball in his hand, but he's got speed and he's got a feel. He can't go between tackles very well. I think you're aware of that, but I like him as I think you mentioned offline, as a gadget guy, a guy that can run those things that you don't want to put Tyreek or McCole in jeopardy for, especially if you're running behind the line of scrimmage.
I have seen him break off of guys though, in his let's say extra jitterbug step that he does in the backfield that a back shouldn't do, which is where I kind of like Warren and Dobbins and Swift a little better than Taylor. Taylor ran into blockers a little bit more than I like, even with all that speed.
Quite a bit.
You do that in the pros, that's going to be a problem. Swift was more decisive. Guy, like that decision making is important. And Warren, I think, just needed a better team, and he could have had 2,500 yards. That dude was gross. It was anyway. He's just a new crush. I'm like, I have my favorite picks, and they're kind of fluid. It kind of changes. Like, well, she was pretty, but what about that redhead? Ooh, that's kind of cool. Ginger.
Don't tell the wife she's a redhead.
Yeah. But I think that in the beef, the kid, like you mentioned, it's like he runs a little upright. He's not quite a polished runner. And this, I mean, I watch him play, and like he reminds me of Nicole Hardman, but like 2 or 3 inches taller and 40 pounds, 30 pounds heavier. Like the dude, he reminds me of Juju Smith-Schuster, the way he runs.
I come back to him and Laviska Shenault in this same draft.
Yeah.
And Shenault, you probably have to spend a second-round pick on. You can get Gibson in probably the 4th or 5th, and I think that's a much better value and probably the same production.
I think he's going to get to the 5th anymore. I think
I think you're a little high on him, but hey, that's okay.
I am, but I think that more people have been looking at him. I think here's the other thing too: is like, if I'm the owner of the team and I'm the GM, it's like she got nowhere to be, nothing to do. You better be watching tape. You're still on contract, scouts.
Oh, yeah.
You better be watching tape 12, 14 hours a day and responding back to me on different guys that you think are a little bit more special. And I think that I'm wondering, I'm curious, what are your thoughts? Do you think the current situation, because we're not going to be live and we're not going to be there at the draft, nobody's going to be there at the draft. They'll be running the draft. It's going to be like Yahoo Fantasy Football. It's going to be like NFL.com. You know, first of all, I love the fact that we're not going to know who the next draft pick is for every draft pick because they're not going to get phone calls in front of us. I hate that.
Yeah,
it ruins it. I don't want to know my Christmas presents. I want to open them. I want to be surprised. Okay, can we just stop doing that? Well, so and so just took a call, so I guess it's going to be that guy. Cue the tape. We knew first. I don't care that you knew first. I want to be surprised and enjoy it. It's like you're the spoiler alert without the spoiler alert. You know, so that I love. But do you think that the interconnectedness? First of all, I think that every team needs to have an ongoing connected link to the NFL at all times. Like not a channel, no phone call. No, you got to have an online channel open so you can deliver your card like that instantly. Because if you're trying to make a phone call, and like teams could blow you up on the internet, teams could like mess your connection up. Teams could hack each other.
My understanding is that there'll be one person that's connected to the league. They will receive a phone call from the GM with the pick. And a lot of teams are designating that person for exactly that reason, so that the main number that everybody's trying to connect you for drafts, draft trades and everything else doesn't get overwhelmed because of bandwidth. Right.
I mean, the NFL's got to have so much money for bandwidth and stuff like that. I just think that they should have, if it takes 32 monitors or one screen with 32 thumbnail windows, you should have a Skype window or a chat window like this open the whole time for every team. So there's zero connection time required. Yeah. You just, boom, here's my card, here's my pick. Or, we just made a trade. Let us send you the details right now. That kind of thing. But that aside, because that's speculation, we don't know. We'll see. It'll be interesting for sure. We'll all be learning this together. Do you think we are going to see more trades than ever? Because everything's behind closed doors, hush hush. Everybody's locked up, penned up in their little calculating boxes. They're going to be able to do a bunch of. I mean, if they're doing proper social distancing, the war room's not going to have people slobbering all over each other, stacked on top of each other. There's going to be a few people in a room, and they're going to be separated, and they're going to be diligently working on their stuff.
Well, they have to.
Tons of camera crews and stuff.
Yeah, though they can't do it that way. In fact, the Chiefs have already said that Andy will be running from his basement, and everybody else is going to be spread out. They're talking about a possible hotel room, but I don't think that they're going to get a conference room to get people together because of literally the orders not to gather in groups. But
you could leave sick. You could go in healthy and leave sick. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
everybody could be healthy day one and leave and come back, and somebody's got. You know what I mean? It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
But you think that how they trades, or will it?
I think the trades are probably they're likely to be a little bit more. I don't know that it's going to be huge. I think the big thing is everybody's going to be focused on guys that they got to interview at the combine. I think the combine became more important because you got contact, and without being able to do these things in person, I mean, FaceTime's great. I mean, what you and I are doing right now is fine, but I don't think teams are going to take chances with that. So I think small school guys or guys that had discipline problems or stuff like that, I think they're kind of more out in the cold this year.
Yeah.
But
which again pushes those prestige guys up a little more.
Exactly.
A little more. Somebody might have been like, I wanted to see the pro day of that guy of Wichita, Tallahatchie, Eastern State. I didn't get to see him. And he beat up his mom 2 years ago. So I don't know if he's crazy or if he's figured it out. So let's not draft him. Let's draft Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
And if we don't take him now, he's going to be gone. Like, I think that's the kind of thing that'll make people go, we'll teach him not to fumble. I mean, that's a big thing to teach a guy not to do.
This is going to be, I'm calling it the year of the safe draft pick for that reason exactly. So, well, folks, let us know what you think. Dan is certain that a first-round running back is in the future, or at least
possible. Should be. I think you know what, man? I would not. I mean, if they drafted any one of those three that I mentioned in the first round, or traded down a couple picks and got them in the top of the second, I would be smiling. I would not have any tears whatsoever. I'd be like, you know what? Because I'm watching all this tape with a different set of rose-colored Patrick tinted glasses going, how will that guy look in our offense? And it's exciting. It's exciting.
We're going to call that Red Raider tinted glasses.
Well, let's not say Raider.
Well, they go together.
So
you know, they're like
I know. We could say guns up glasses.
There you go. Folks, let us know what you think. If you're not subscribed to the channel, we're going to do more of this on something that we're going to come up with a title for, but you'll see more, Dan. Leave your comments below and let us know what you think. If you're not subbed yet, hit that sub button, hit the bell notification so you know when something new pops up. Leave us a thumbs up if you like this one. Check out Dan at your Twitter address is not something I can remember.
At ThunderDan88.
That's what I'm talking about.
You see me on Twitter or Instagram on that name.
Nice. And we will have more for you. Make sure you check out the Monday Night Q&A. Dan's in there quite often, and we will be back with you next time. Thanks for watching this one, and we'll check you later.
Go Chiefs.